Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Podcast, where the DR stands for Driving Results. Our focus is weekly conversations around life and business relationships and the important leadership qualities for both. These concepts and qualities will help you drive positive results in both your business and personal lives. A weekly connection point to help business leaders develop individual contributors, managers, and executives on your teams. We also will tie in concepts around family focus and life lessons to help you drive success in your personal life. Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show. Let's get after it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. Leadership Podcast. The doctor is in the house. Hope you had a great week. Mine is progressing nicely as well. We're into the new year here and want to go into a topic that is very relevant typically around this time of year, and that is around goal setting and how to achieve goals and how these goals come about in your mind, how they come about to reality, or if we're about 95% of the population, how we fail to achieve them. And I want to bring this into personal life, business life. It all ties together, like I say often. But, first, I do want to throw, before we jump right in, I do want to throw a big thank you out to the audience. People are sharing, getting more and more views all the time. Check out the website, share it with people. We're located at www.drleadershipresults.com, and the doctor is drleadershipresults.com. Check out the website. You can get to the subscription site through there out at Patreon. The subscription site is growing by the week, which is awesome too. Very much appreciate that. Remember, that's where you get special access to some of these great leadership lounge interviews. You got Stan Phelps out there. You've got Coach Dick Vermeil, Super Bowl winning coach. You've got Frank Lazzara, helicopter pilot and leader extraordinaire from Bell Helicopter, talks about his crash in the Himalayan mountains following 9/11 as we were gearing up to take on the Middle East following that disaster. You have people such as J.R. Bozen, leader of Exec One Aviation. You have Kevin Johnson, owner of Accurate Development, big development company. Got some other great ones getting ready to get loaded up as well. Just lots of good stuff out there, and it's worth the investment, I promise. And then also great feedback coming from people. A lot of people from work and around my industry are sending notes and things, texts, etc. But I can be reached at our email also, which is drleadershipresults@gmail.com. So feel free to give us some insight, give us some feedback, let us know what we can do, what we can add, what we could do better. Open to all that. That's how I get better, right? The goal is to make, one of my goals is to make this show better each and every time. And sometimes I swing and hit, sometimes I swing and miss, but the feedback is appreciated. Remember, feedback is a gift if you choose to accept it. If you don't, you're going to continue to make the mistakes that might be hampering you from your overall development and growth. So, hey, back to goals. We're a couple years into the new year here, three in. And it's that time of year where people set New Year's, quote, fingers in the air, resolutions. And I hate New Year's resolutions. I personally don't do them because one major reason, they'll fail. And they'll fail for a number of reasons. But how they come about typically is a tryptophan stupor, and tryptophan is what's in turkey that makes you tired. You've shoved 4,000 or 5,000 calories down in one sitting at Thanksgiving. You follow it back up by Christmas and Hanukkah times and whatever your holiday season that you're recognizing brings about. But the big thing is we all shove our faces full of stuff and we look at the mirror about the 28th of December and go, oh my God, I'm fat. Got to do something about it. So, Monday the 2nd of January this year, I'm going to make life-altering changes and I'm going to go and get it done. The problem is that it's made at a very, very tough time for you. You're making an emotional response and you aren't serious about it when you're sitting in these calorie-fed stupors. And then what happens is you get to about February 15th, you're 60 days in, and you're shoving French silk pie back in your face again and not taking care of your health, not following up on I'm going to walk 1.5 miles a day, not following up on I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, not following up on I'm going to quit drinking, not following up on these goals you've set yourself because they were never serious goals to begin with. You're letting yourself down. It's destined for failure. You have to have good goals with a specific date of accomplishment. You have to set timelines of when you want to accomplish them by, not when you'll start. That's procrastination. I'll tell you what I'm really going to get after. I'm going to quit beating my wife next Tuesday. Yeah, no. You don't set goals based on a date to start later on. You set goals with accomplishment dates, timelines that you want to try to stay within. And those are adjustable, but you're looking towards the future. That's what you have to do. Jimmy Johnson, so goal setting and goal achievement are based around hard work and commitment. I'm going to talk more about that. But the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl winning coach, Jimmy Johnson, also coached the Miami Hurricanes to a national championship. Pretty good coach. Pretty good announcer. Good guy. Says this: the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just a little extra. And that's a great concept. If you want to accomplish goals, if you want to attain destinations for yourself, personally or business-wise, you have to be willing to give the extra. Are you ready to give the extra? That's when you determine what your goals should be. You have to be hungry for them. They have to have an impact on your life that you're going to need to accomplish for good things to happen around other items in your life. Good weight loss goals come from, unfortunately, things like I've been diagnosed with diabetes. I've been diagnosed with cardiopulmonary disease. That'll lead you. Death, forthcoming, when your doctor looks you in the eye and says, listen, if you don't start doing something about this, you're going to be dead in 3 years. That'll cause action. Finishing up the French silk with the whipped cream on top of a small slice of pumpkin, too, because it is the holidays. I'll just have a little of both. Shoving that in your gullet is not a good time to set a goal. So get through January. Now would be a good time. Now we're in the middle of January when you're listening to this. Now would be a great time to start thinking about, what do I want to accomplish this year? How do I go about doing it, right? You have to be ready in a business goal or for self-improvement or whatever. You have to be committed. And I'm going to go through 7, 8, 9 items. I don't know how many notes I wrote down here. Things came to mind on why goal setting fails. What lets you down, right? And I've kind of talked a little bit about the first one, but they're not specific enough. A lot of people come into the new year and say, I'm going to lose some weight. Well, it's a good goal, but it's not specific enough. I'm going to take better care of myself. What the hell does that mean? Going to stop doing the crack, keep doing the meth? It's pretty open-ended here. Pretty vague. They need to be very specific. I am going to go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next 6 weeks. It's got an end timeline. It's got a commitment of amount. And it's also an attainable one. It's a baby step. I think a good process on goal setting is you can have multiple goals. And I want to talk about that. You don't want too many because then it becomes a loss of focus. But you can set integrals of timing. It's a tough word for me. May not even said it right there. Steps that you have to take to get to the bigger goal. So I just stated I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week for the next 6 weeks. That is a manageable goal. It's time-based. It's not procrastinated. It's specific. And it's given me a baby step. Because then at the end of the 6 weeks, I'm going to say I'm going to go 3 times for the next 8 weeks. I'm going to go 3 times for the next 3 months. Whatever it might be. So you have to make sure that when you're setting goals, they're specific and they're time-oriented. Timelines can move based on outside circumstances. The economy's bad. Yeah, I get it. You can't control the economy. So if you're using that as an excuse for not getting to your goal, you aren't setting up goals that are self-accountable. So be specific. Give yourself a time frame. Make sure that it's attainable. You got to stretch yourself. Don't give layups. So in that, I just said, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times for the next 6 weeks. Your goal may be that I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. How you lose 20 pounds is by starting with going to the gym 3 times a week for the next 6 weeks. Commitment, you start to feel the win, you start to build confidence, because that's a challenge too that I'll get to in just a moment. Actually, I'll get to that right now. Self-doubt. You have to believe in yourself. Self-belief is the key to this thing. It is not about anyone else. You got to be the one that believes you're going to attack it, that believes you can attain it, and believes in yourself to keep pressing towards the goal. You cannot not believe in yourself because no one else is gonna. In life, you are responsible for you. Attaining goals, being successful, making decisions that impact your life. No one is responsible. No one's accountable. We talked about accountability lots on the show. You are accountable for achieving goals. Only you, when you're setting them for your personal life. In a business life, you may have teams, you may have others that are responsible with you, but you have to work together to set goals in the same manner. So self-doubt is a really, really big issue. You got to be willing to say to yourself, am I committed? And do I believe I can do it? Because without belief, you're never going to attain this thing. You're never going to get home doubting yourself. In anything in life. It can be sports. If you step up to the plate as a little leaguer, I always thought, I'm going to smash this thing into the right center. I never thought, I'm going to dribble one to the shortstop for an easy put out. I'm going to hit into the double play. Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. You got to have positive vision. You got to see it in your mind's eye, right? And golf, great sport, 100% self-accountable. Got to have a short memory in that game, too. Next stroke, next swing. But in golf, they always say, envision the shot. Same thing holds true in goals and anything else in life. Going out and making a call on a new customer or a new prospect. Have never called on this people before. We used to call them cold calls. A lot of people don't do them any longer. They want their marketing department to come up with their prospects. Go out and make some friends. But as you're walking in, the goal is, I'd like to find out who the decision maker is. And this is going back to the old days. You don't really use shoe leather that much anymore. You should certainly be using technology, looking things up in Google and looking things up in Hoover's and looking things up on Dun and Bradstreet to see who you need to call on, et cetera. Looking through LinkedIn, using the ability to find out who these people are. And let's say you're calling them or sending an introductory email. The goal is to just get engagement at that point. But I see that as I'm going to craft a good communication. I'm going to go in and talk to somebody and build a relationship with that gatekeeper in order to get to the next step of my goal, which is an appointment. The goal is to sell ABC company something someday, but you got to have steps along the way. That could be a 5-year process. Could be a 5-month process. Could be a 5-week process, depending on what you do for a living. But you got to set time frames out there, and then you got to set steps along the way. So psychologically, you're having small wins. Things happen that allow you to feel that you're making progress, because that's the killer too. That self-doubt comes in. I didn't lose 20 pounds this week. I'm not going to do this anymore. It's too hard. Stop that. Set attainable steps towards the bigger goal. People don't attack it when they set the goal. They sit back and they just lackadaisically go after it. Procrastination shows up. I used to always tell my kids, dad jokes, I'm a procrastinator. Tomorrow I'll tell you why. Stupid dad joke. But procrastination is a killer. Make an advance toward your goals every day. I've said this before too. There's lots of people that talk a really good game. Man, you sit and listen to them and you're just like, man, they got their stuff together. They're raring to go. But they can't go for raring. And what that means is this. Talk is cheap. I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. They don't go to gym first week of January. Don't go to gym second week of January. Suddenly it's the third week in June. There's talkers. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words, right? Results are driven by steps, by moving forward. leaning into what that desired outcome is. In life, in business, in your marriage, in being a parent, in being a child, a sibling, in being a neighbor, everything that we do in life that is worthwhile takes engagement. You got to lean into it. Goals are no different. Otherwise, you're just flapping your jaws. You have to be committed to it. You have to be dedicated to it. You have to be willing to attack it. You have to not only be raring to go, you got to go for raring. The greatest athletes in the world practice hours a day to maintain their skills. They practiced for tens of thousands of hours. There's the old 10,000, I think it's the 10,000 minute rule. I think that's the right number. My wife has brought this up a couple times, but it's if you do anything in life 10,000 times over a length of time, you're going to develop a very good skill at it. You don't just show up at the basketball court, grab the ball, go, hey, what's this thing? Oh, it bounces. Hey, start throwing up three-pointers, shooting 45%. You got to sit there. First of all, you got to learn how to make a layup. Then you got to learn how to make the little baseline jumper. Then you move to the free throw line. Then you work on your cardio and your leg strength. You can't make a three-pointer without leg strength. The goal can't be I'm going to shoot 45% from the three-point line when you're 8 years old. You can't get it to the hoop yet. So it has to be attainable, it has to be realistic, and then the work ethic has to come. Everything I talk about on this show you will find is centered around good work ethic, no excuses, accountability. You yourself are responsible for your results. Insert topic. No one else is. My wife isn't responsible for my successes in life. We are responsible together for our successes together. Our dream of life, our ability to travel, our financial freedom and independence, those things are a team. I'm not saying that. But when I go off to work in the morning, my wife is not responsible for me bringing home the bacon on that transaction and help my team win that deal. My wife is not responsible for me building out quotas and business plans for the upcoming fiscal change. I'm responsible for that. We are a team, a very tight-knit team. But on individual goals and those types of things that we're talking about here, unless the goal is a better marriage that you're working on, better communicator with my wife, those types of things, of course you're engaged then. But on individual goals, you yourself are responsible. There's one employee and one boss, and they're the same person. And the boss part of your brain better be telling the employee part of your brain to get off your duff and go after it. You got to attack it. Goals are not easy. Life is not easy. So what you do is you make goals motivating. This goes back to the setting smaller steps, right? If I go to the gym 3 times a week for 6 weeks, guess what? I've developed a habit and I'm motivated because I will have seen some results. I'm not down the 20. I'm down 2. I'm 10% of the way to the goal. In 6 weeks, you're 10% of the way, a little more, 11% of the way through the year. You're on pace. Next 6 weeks, I'm going to lose 3. Maybe that's the next goal. Instead of going 3 times a week for 30 minutes, I'm going 3 times a week for 40. Because you're starting to get some momentum. Remember the snowball down the hill? Inertia, mass, momentum. That's the way. If you aren't committed, you're never, ever, ever going to attain any goal you put out in front of yourself. You have to mentally be tied in that I am going to get this thing done. Remember this when you talk about commitment and dedication. Successful people do what unsuccessful people don't like to do. Think about the comment. Life is hard. Choose your hard. Marriage is hard. Divorce is hard. Choose your hard. Being financially in debt is hard. Having no debt is hard. Choose your hard. Being healthy is hard. Being unhealthy is hard. Choose your hard. You can go through this for hours. Nothing is easy. Being a lazy bum isn't easy. You got to work hard at it. Then the self-loathing, lack of worth, lack of self-doubt creeps in. There's no self-confidence. I say this to my kids all the time on financial steps. Being in debt is easy to get there, but very hard to get out. You want to talk about stresses in your life, be in debt. And if you're in debt now, I'm sorry. You got yourself there, more than likely. There are things that happen, health issues, etc. But if you can't handle a health issue, you are not financially established yet. You have to be able to handle a 6-month emergency, a $5,000 bill. And I know that seems like a lot if you're making $40,000 a year. $20 at a time. My dad opened his first savings account with a $2 deposit. Now, this is 1937, but he started with a $2 deposit. Baby steps. You know what? I got my kids to help them with this financial stuff. I'm trying all the time. I've got a 25, almost 26-year-old, a 22 going on 23-year-old daughters. And I push on them all the time. Be financially stable, be financially dedicated, invest, save, pay yourself first. Their stocking stuffer this year, among other things, lip glosses and face masks and little fun stuff like that, which I always do the stockings. I got them both an annual subscription to Kiplinger's magazine. It's a monthly magazine, and by the way, it was on promo. I got 4 special editions. I'm a thinker. Kiplinger magazine, Money magazine used to be a good one. It's only available online now. Forbes, any of these periodicals focus to investing, savings, insurance, just understanding how all this works is a killer way to get your kids started. And if you aren't smart enough or don't feel educated enough around it, great way to do it for yourself too. It was $20 for an annual subscription of Kiplinger magazine. My goal for them with that, and I hope they are setting their own goals, is to read every edition cover to cover. You got about 3 hours worth of work a month to do that. Then you don't have to come with me on questions like, how's a 401k work? Why do you get life insurance? What do they mean by buying options on stocks? Look it up. You got time to get on TikTok and watch stupid videos for the next 2.5 hours. You got time to read 3 articles in Kiplinger. Educate yourself. If you're educated about finances, educated about anything in life, insert the topic. You are more comfortable. Self-doubt goes away. You are more dedicated to it because you understand it. The clouds of ununderstanding intimidate people. Don't allow yourself to be intimidated like that. But remember, make goals a must-achieve situation for you. That way, that mentality of it's life or death will cause you to strive for these things, and then put steps along the way that drive motivation and keep you focused. That's the next one. Focus. Don't give yourself 10 goals. I'm going to lose 10 pounds, and I'm going to take better care of my skin, and I'm going to completely redo my closet and have a whole new me of what I look like. I'm going to work on my vocabulary and my public speaking, and I'm going to get really, really good at PowerPoint, and I'm going to read a book a week, and that's what I'm doing this year. You ain't going to hit one of them. Not a shot. You're just slapping your gums together again in public, trying to sound like you got your life together. It's like looking at Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or anything. The wide world of fake lives, as I call it. Everybody lies on those sites. Everything you're showing is trying to show yourself compared to the Joneses. Remember, the Joneses are your enemy in life. Not an inspiration, but a desperation. You lack self-confidence. You're insecure if you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Same with trying to make yourself look great. It's people trying to pull themselves out psychologically when instead of taking the time to type that I was just at the gym, go to the gym. That I'm going to read a book a week. Read a book. Start with an article. Read a chapter. It's all fake. Fake book is what we used to call it before I dropped it. Again, best thing I ever did. Highly recommend. You want goals for this year? Drop half the social media. It will amaze you how much happier you are. Don't worry about FOMO, fear of missing out. You ain't missing nothing except a bunch of liars, fake life stories telling. So you got to have focus. Fewer goals, more dedication. Next one, man, no excuses. Make no excuses. There are outside items that you cannot control that will inhibit your ability potentially to hit goals. Move around it. If you hit a wall, Michael Jordan said, if you hit a wall, figure out a way over or around it. Remember, he was cut from his sophomore high school basketball team. He's going to be 60 this year. I can't believe that. Greatest basketball player ever. I don't care who you think elsewise, but that's my opinion because he was playing when I was growing up. Much better team player. Stayed with a single team until his comeback at the end, but played over a decade with one team when they weren't good. Didn't use free agency to go find himself a way to win because they were already loaded, like LeBron. Excuse me, did I say that out loud? LeBron James. I'm just going to go where they're loaded so I can win a championship. Michael stayed there, and as a team, they developed it. Great general manager work of the Bulls in the 80s and 90s, by the way. But focus. Don't make excuses. Unsuccessful people play victims. Well, I'd be able to do it if they just did this. I'd be able to do it if they hadn't said that. Bullshit. A lot of people can't handle failure. This is why the small steps are important. Whether it's a business goal, a family goal, let's talk financial goals for a little bit. I am going to save $1,000 in the next 6 months. For a young person starting, a family starting, that can be a big number to you, that can be a small number to you. It's arbitrary. Let's say it's my kids. I want you to have an additional $1,000 in savings in the next 6 months. Well, I can't afford that. You can't afford not to. Let's go through what I'm spending weekly. How many times do you eat out this week? 13. And it's a number like that. It's a pickup of Taco Bell. It's a pickup of a coffee and a bagel on the way in. It's a pickup of a quick drive-through sandwich on the way home. It's buying food and throwing half of it out instead of doing leftovers. All those little things just cost you money. If you are under the age of 25 and you're going out more than twice or 3 times a week in the evenings, you're way overspending. If you are not taking lunch in, taking leftovers, and acting like you need to be when you're young, you're not going to develop wealth and you aren't going to save the $1,000 because life is hard. Pick your hard. You can do it. But it takes determination, commitment, focus, and lack of excuses. There are no excuses for your own goal setting. You are the boss and the employee. I said it already. Get after it. That's how you accomplish it. And you got to be able to handle setbacks. We live in this world of everything is now. You have to be patient. You have to look at the long-term game, right? You have to be willing to take longer to achieve goals than right now. Everything is click on your phone. Click here. Someone shows up with your food. Someone shows up to drive you around. Instant gratification is everywhere. They say, don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep moving. That's how you attain goals. Keep moving. I believe that was, what was his, Sam Levinson, I think is that guy's name. Everybody wants it now. Nothing's good that comes that quick. Got to have some anticipation. Heinz ketchup, used that for years. A lot of people aren't old enough to remember those commercials. You have to be willing to give time for these accomplishments to come to fruition. Life is hard. Finally, people quit. The reason they don't attain their goals is because they quit. Hence the comment, be like a clock. Keep moving. Quitters never prosper, ever. I can't stand quitters. Not my type of people. They play victim. They quit. Jim Rohn has a great statement there. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. Discipline, commitment, have to do attitude, will do attitude, no excuses. Keep moving. Focus. Don't set too many. Baby steps. Be committed. You can do this. All of you can. What are your goals this year? Set one personal and one business. Start there. Make them something that you can see. Don't pick the horizon. Pick a couple of car lengths ahead of you in this drive towards that goal. Once you hit that spot, set a little further distance goal. You have to stay focused. You have to stay committed. You can't quit. Goals are hard if you're doing it right. You will not attain them if you don't do the steps that we've discussed. You have to be focused. You have to be raring to go, and you have to be able to go for raring. And I believe you all are going to do that because you're awesome. Keep that shit up. Talk next week.